Please subscribe to our channel. Directed by Jacqueline Castel, My Animal is a love story between two teenagers that takes an unlikely turn when we realize that one of them is not a human. The film is never able to impact you in the manner it wants to, as it struggles between being a love story and a suspense thriller. Heather is a reserved and private young girl who prefers to keep her life hidden from others. With practically no friends, she often steers people away when they attempt to befriend her. Living in seclusion on the outskirts of town, Heather avoids contact with her old classmates and adheres to strict rules set by her mother, particularly regarding nighttime activities. The shackles on her bed and the books in her room hint at a hidden secret. In reality, Heather is cursed and transforms into a wolf during the full moon. Her father, Henry, shares this curse, making him the only empathetic presence in her life. On the contrary, her mother, Patty, has become a bitter soul, numbed by alcohol and indifferent to the needs of her family. Despite her secluded life, Heather aspires to join the school's hockey team but faces rejection from the coach each time she tries. One day, while buying Lambrusco for her mother, Heather meets Jonny at a store and immediately takes a liking to her. Jonny, a dedicated skater pushed by her father's ambitious dreams of fame, shares Heather's experience of having a controlling and unemphatic parent. This shared circumstance becomes the cornerstone of their budding friendship. Jonny calls Heather and invites her to meet at the corner store. Although initially hesitant, Heather eventually agrees. Patty strongly advises her against going, but Heather insists, promising to return before midnight. Seeing that Heather is set on going, Patty reluctantly gives up and offers Heather her watch to help her keep track of time. Jonny impresses Heather beyond measure by treating her to a thrilling evening at the casino, complete with exciting gaming, free-flowing cocktails, and even a tempting pill offer. As the night progresses in a blur of merriment and good times, Heather suddenly remembers that she's over her curfew. Fear grows as she realizes her well-hidden secret may soon be exposed. With her heart racing, Heather hastens home. However, she struggles to keep her balance since blood is continually dripping from her nose. On the other hand, Patty sits in a dimly lit room, contemplating her daughter's whereabouts and fearing for her safety. Unfortunately, her worst fears materialize the following morning when she discovers Heather outside their home, drenched in blood and devoid of clothing. Henry, deeply concerned for Heather's safety and that of others, admonishes her about the dangers of roaming freely at night. In response, Heather lashes out at her father, imploring him to be more understanding. For years, Heather has lived under the strict curfew enforced by her parents, a constraint that has denied her the freedom typical of teenagers her age. She envies witnessing others relish life's pleasures, knowing she must return to her room and bind herself in chains. The following morning, Jonny inquires why Heather hastily left the previous night, but she deflects the question. A few days later, Heather extends an invitation to Jonny to visit her home. However, Patty creates a scene that disrupts their conversation. Patty not only speaks brusquely to Jonny, but also cautions her to leave, asserting that she doesn't comprehend who Heather truly is. Fortunately, amidst the arguments and chaos, Heather receives some good news. The coach finally grants her a spot on the hockey team. Heather also begins to forge a closer bond with Jonny, finding herself increasingly drawn to her. She even starts to entertain fantasies involving herself and Jonny. Heather finds herself head over heels for Jonny, longing to spend every waking moment with him. However, she despises the fact that Jonny is in a relationship with Rick, a controlling and abusive person who doesn't appreciate her. In turn, Jonny also reciprocates Heather's feelings and gradually falls for her, too. As time passes, their closeness grows, and they give in to their desires. However, things take a downturn as Heather's brothers discover her relationship and start distancing themselves from her. To compound her distress, Jonny begins avoiding her after their intimate night. Heather desperately attempts to reach out to her, but all her calls go unanswered, straight to voicemail. She visits Jonny's house, but his father firmly rejects her, refusing to entertain any of her questions. Heather finally manages to reach Jonny on the phone and invites him to hang out. To her surprise, Jonny reveals that she's at Rick's house and invites her to join them at the party. Despite initial hesitation, Heather decides to attend. However, upon arriving at the party, she discovers that Jonny seems to want nothing to do with her anymore, although the tears in her eyes betray a different truth. The sense of heartbreak and betrayal weighs heavily on her, leaving her shattered. As Heather grapples with Jonny's sudden distance, a far more devastating blow comes her way. Her father, Henry, suffers a heart attack and tragically passes away. The pillar of strength in her life is gone, and the weight of grief and loss feels insurmountable. Adding to her anguish, Heather's brothers point fingers at her, blaming her for their father's untimely death. Henry's demise fundamentally changes Heather, plunging her into a sea of bitterness, mirroring her mother. She grapples with an overwhelming sense of loneliness as if the world has turned its back on her. Unaware of the impending danger, Heather ventures out of her house under the glow of a full moon. She walks into a bar and unexpectedly finds Jonny and Rick. Heather confronts Jonny, refusing her advice to leave. However, Rick forcibly escorts her outside, pushing her to the limit. Heather, fueled by anger, questions Rick's manhood, pushing him over the edge. In a horrifying twist of fate, Rick loses control and mercilessly assaults Heather with a cue stick, oblivious to her true nature. As the moon ascends to its full glory, Heather undergoes a chilling transformation. Heather morphs into a wolf and dispatches Rick. With the taste of blood still fresh, she flees into the nearby woods, vanishing among the trees. The following morning, Heather awakens in her room, naked and drenched in blood, with her mother, Patty, tending to her. Patty, fearing for Heather's safety, sternly advises her to leave their home, convinced it's no longer a safe haven. The ending of My Animal shows Heather, heeding her mother's grim counsel, deciding to leave the town and setting out on a journey into the unknown. So that's My Animal ending explained. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to this channel. See you in another video. Bye.